Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Lynch Paints, where I, Lynch, will be showing you how to create really effective and quick metal weathered looks for your miniatures for all your various tabletop board games. So, without further ado, let us grab our paints, our brushes, our WD-40, and let's get started. Right, so first step is, of course, to prime your model in black. There's some people that will say to prime it in a silver, obviously for doing metal work, but I find that priming it black first is much easier to build from a dark up the way to kind of lighter tones, and also when it comes around to dry brushing you get a much nicer effect. So I'm going to kick it off with some Iron Warriors silver, and then we want a nice fat brush. Now, I haven't glued on the two arms just because it is a little bit crowded in between, and I want to try and get as much access to the sides as possible. So what we want to do, we want to take a blob like so, and then we're going to wipe off the majority onto a bit of kitchen roll or some tissue, and the less you brush off, the less paint you have, but then the smoother the effect you'll have. So at the minute we're going to have quite a bit of paint on this, so we're going to pick out areas that we want quite a bit of sort of metal work to show, and then what we're going to do is that we're just going to slap it on just like that, nice, quick and simple. So the more that we work with this paint, obviously the less paint will be left on the brush, which means that if you have areas where you want it to be quite a dark metal colour, then you will see those to last, and that creates a really nice effect as well. So we're just going to do this throughout most of the model and really work it in as well, and the bigger the brush the better. So once I've done all this, I'll be back with the next stage. So now that our big lad is getting shinier, we're now going to move up to the next colour, and for this instance I'm going to be using some Granite Steel just to build up that kind of shininess. Really, I quite like using Granite Steel because it's got like a blue tinge to it, which just stands out, makes it a little bit different, doesn't it? I'm going to use the same brush again, not going to really kind of wash it out or anything like that, because you want your brushes to be as dry as you can for this kind of thing. I mean, you know, the clue's in the title, it is dry brushing after all. So what I've done previously is I've just kind of gone around in circles, which is fine, is kind of the main way that I do it, but you can stipple, which is just doing this. It's just like just hitting your model multiple times, and that can also create a really nice sort of warm metal effect. So I'm going to do this over some of the areas that I want to remain the shiniest, so you can kind of see just on this shoulder pad here that it's not quite as shiny as the one above. Kind of just about to see it. Same thing with the weapons. So with the weapons I wanted them to be really eye-catching, so I went over them with the full metal. If I can get it to focus, that'd be great. And then so the rest of the arm is a kind of a duller steel sort of look, and it's turned out really quite well. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of areas with this. So the next stage, we are looking at washes. So we're going to use Agrax Earthshade, which is like a nice brown wash, and probably some Null Oil as well, because that's just effectively just a black wash. I'm going to use them both on different areas. So we're going to just take a nice kind of medium-sized brush, and we're going to get a good dollop on there, and we're going to start out with this front plate here, and then just apply a nice coat all over the top, get it into all the recesses, all the cracks and crevices, make sure I got a nice coat on there. And it doesn't matter if you can kind of see there that it's kind of a bit spotty in places. That's fine. That's going to work really, really well with the kind of the weathered orc aesthetic. So now I'm just going to switch over to some null oil, and I will just show you if the lid will stay open. There we go. Obviously it will show up better when it dries, but just to give you an idea, just on this little section here, try and position it so you can see it as best as you can. So the null oil, like I say, it's generally just a dark wash, so if I just put it on here, it generally just makes the metal darker, which is okay, but I probably wouldn't use it just going forward with the orcs with this piece, just because I quite prefer using the agrax over the null oil, just because you get that nice warmth to it. You can mix the two, so you can get like a darker brown, darker kind of warmth, but for this, no, I'm just going to stick with agrax. It just makes it look dirtier and much more worn. So I've only got a few areas to do, so I'll cover them, leave it to dry, and then we'll be back for the next stage. So now that our agrax earth shade is now dry, I'm going to go back over and just highlight some of the areas with some of the grey night steel. And for that we're going to need the paint and a nice medium-sized brush, or smaller if you prefer. So now that we are done with the highlighting stage, and I have gone over and just done a couple of little scratches here and there, we're now going to move on to our Riser Rust effects paints, and this stuff is really, really nice. So you're going to want a really old, tired, knackered brush that's really sort of frayed. This one I tend to use for the snow effects, as there are some bits of loose snow that's jammed up in there, but it's not really going to affect the paint too much, so you want to apply a fair amount onto your brush, and then you just want to wipe off the majority of your paint just onto there. And then you're just going to want to just stipple, so just directly just kind of jabbing it, and just kind of do a little area at first and see how it goes, and then gradually build it up. So it looks quite good. Try not to get it directly into the lights and you can actually see. And then we're just going to pick out a couple of areas, so maybe like the pole at the top, and you can work as well in sort of little circles as well. And of course the less paint that you have on the brush, the kind of the subtle the rust colour is going to look, but then obviously the more that you have on, it's going to be very sort of big chips and very obvious, just like so. So I'm going to do this all over the model in various places, and then we'll be back for the next bit. And so for our next secret weapon, we're going to be using some of this oxide. I'm not going to try and pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it. Nihilak? Nihilak. Oxide. That stuff. So we're going to want a medium to small brush, and this is a really lovely sort of copper oxide wash, and we're going to start to apply it around just some of the rivets and bolts and some of the gaps. It works really well in contrast, or like in tandem with the rust. So I'm just going to kind of blob a bit there and then just pull it down a bit as if it's kind of streaking down the way. Right, next stage, we're moving on to weathering powders. So I've got a couple of these ones from Forge World. So I have black soot and I have ash grey. And you can get obviously weathering powders from other companies out there, but these are just the ones that I have currently to hand. So what we're going to do is grab a quite nice fluffy brush for this. And you do want to be careful, you don't want to get this stuff onto carpet or any sort of light clothing, because it will not come out. Trust me, take my word for it, it will not come out. So you want to put something down, like an old bit of paper, an old sheet of paper, or like an old cutting mat like this, something that's the excess powder that falls off, because there will be quite a bit that falls off, won't ruin. So what we're going to do, I mean, because black soot's kind of in the title a little bit, is that we're going to go around to the top of the exhaust vents. And then we'll move on to the ash grey, and because of course it's just a powder, you don't need to wash out your brushes. And we're just going to do this around his feet. So I'm going to really just jam it in there. It may look like a lot at first, but then you just kind of work it in and around, and eventually it doesn't look as bad. All condensed down there. Yeah, just throw the model down. Why not? So I'm going to actually mix some of this in with the ash grey, with the black soot, just to make it a little bit of a unique mix. Why not? Cool. So what I will do now is I'm just going to apply probably a bit of gore onto some of the weaponry, and then that'll be it for the metalwork. So I will catch you in a sec. And here we have the final result of today's video on how to create simple weathered metal effects. I really do hope that you all have learned something new today, and why not give me a like and a comment down below to let me know which step was your favourite and which one worked the best. If you're interested, I do have a Wayland Games affiliate link if you wanted to pick up some new miniatures to try out. Some of these new weathered effect metal works that we have learnt today, that will be in the description down below. I've also not long set up a coffee page as well, that will be linked down below. It's just a little platform whereby you can just sort of donate the price of a coffee, however much that is, where you are viewing this video right now. I have a little goal on there, and to get some new fancy brushes, which would be amazing if I hit that. And yeah, you can see on there my various posts and commission price list on there as well. There will be stills of this model and perhaps a reel as well over at my Instagram page at Lynch Paints. And yeah, if you're new, then please do me a huge favour and just click the subscribe button down below. Just give it a little click. It'll only take you a couple of seconds. So without further ado, stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time.